If you're a normal Minecraft player, you'll probably build your base near spawn. If you care a bit more about safety, you might build your base a couple hundred blocks away from spawn, to stay away from other players. But on the anarchy server 2b2t, where griefing, hacking, and basically anything is allowed, players build their bases hundreds of thousands of blocks away from spawn, or even millions, just to keep it safe away from griefers or base hunters. Well, just recently, the group Skymasons, which has a reputation of being a very secretive and exclusive group on 2b2t, just had their main base, which was meant to be unfindable, griefed by a group of griefers. It all started in June of 2020, when a few high-ranking members of the Skymasons wanted to start a new group base on 2b2t. It was named Skymason, or Sky for short. Well, this would not be a normal group base, where members would be granted coordinates on the server. This is because too many bases were destroyed because untrustworthy members leaked the coordinates to outsiders. The goal that was set by the Masons was to create a base on 2b2t where the coordinates couldn't be seen or traced. Now this sounds absurd, you can just press F3 to see the coordinates, right? Wrong, and the way they did this was not short of ingenious. Instead of members traveling to the base on 2b2t and possibly leaving a trail, each account was whitelisted onto a proxy server where their account would be connected to another proxy located at the base. And this base wasn't open to everyone. To be invited to this base, you must know a member of the Spawn Mason and have skill in building. And you also have to be trustworthy enough. Now my friend Warski was fortunate enough to be invited to this base. The story of how he was invited to the base was kinda funny. It started off when one of his bases on 2b2t was found by Rebane. Rebane was a Mason and had access to the Skymasons. And sometime later after the grief of his base, Warski was invited to build at Sky because Rebane saw how good he was at building. So to be added to the base, you either have to be close friends with a Mason or have good building skills, so they might invite you, like how they did with Warski. If a player who is logged into the proxy decides to place TNT in an attempt to grief the base, they will quickly be banned from the whitelist and removed from the group. Another method of keeping Skymason safe was by using its infrastructure. The base was 1,000 by 1,000 blocks big and had a border that went all the way down to bedrock. If a player decides to fly out, it would just disconnect them from the proxy server, and you would have to rejoin. Free camming outside of the borders also wouldn't work because the plugins the proxy server have installed would just make the player see a void on the client side. But most importantly, the coordinates that were shown client side were offset to a different number. This just means that the coords shown to you when hitting F3 are not where the base really is. All the ways of trying to exploit to find Skymason's coords were thought about and fixed, so it's impossible. You could try to reverse engineer the bedrock to find the coords, but the bedrock is located at the offset coords, and what the player sees isn't the bedrock at the base. What about the block texture rotations? Nope, doesn't work. Even using slime chunks to try and exploit the coordinates doesn't work. Skymason really seems to be unfindable. The only people with the coordinates on 2b2t were the high-ranking members of the Spawn Masons, or people who randomly stumbled upon the base on the server. Yes, stumbling upon the base is possible. Due to the base being built under 1,000,000 blocks from spawn, it makes it quite easy to be found by base hunters. In fact, the base was found by many base hunters. And the way the Masons kept these hunters from leaking the coords was by offering them a spot as a builder at the base. So how did Skymason fall? Well, a ton of investigation was done after the grief in order to find out what actually happened. There was a lot of speculation done to find out how it happened. After speaking to a few people who took part in the grief, the most prominent answer to how this happened was likely a player that found the base gave coordinates to untrustworthy people. Most of the evidence point to an insiding member of the base who leaked the coords to a notorious griefing group called the Fifth Column. Now because most of the information was kept private, I wasn't told who the specific leaker was, but what I do know is why this player shared the coordinates to 5C. From what I heard while sitting in a Discord voice call of around 15 people is that the Spawn Masons and the apparent leaker had a clash regarding the knowledge of a situation that allegedly happened involving a few members of the Spawn Masons in real life. Now I won't be getting into too much detail about what happened that sparked the conflict between the Masons and the leaker, because it wouldn't be appropriate for YouTube. Basically, he did not agree with what those individuals did, so he leaked the coords to the leader of the Fifth Column as retribution. To make sure that he didn't get fake coords, he would have to scout out the base at some point. But there was an issue. Because the base was so active, he couldn't go look for the base on 2b2t, as he could be spotted by a Mason. But somehow, as luck would have it, the server admin reopened the 2b2t test server hosting the original map. So the leader of the Fifth Column sent a member to check on the test server in order to see if the base was actually at the coordinates that were given. And to everyone's surprise, it was there. The Fifth Column now has its target set, and all was left to do was grief. The base took over 3 hours to grief on 2B2T and 30 on the test server, since there was only one player doing so. That just goes to show how large this base actually was. And that was it. The coordinates were eventually given to the public, and Skymason was completely destroyed. Now this base is available for people to see on the archive server, and the IP will be left in the description. Thank you all for watching the video this far. I truly appreciate all of your support for the past few months. And if you enjoyed this video, do not hesitate to like and subscribe. If not, feel free to hit the dislike button. And once again, thank you all.